Of the hundreds of thousands of companies in the United States, you identified 4. One of those is this Safe America Media company. Where is Safe America Media headquartered?
Massive government spending, now facing tough oversight.
I want to discuss in greater detail the expansion of advertising in your department under your tenure. And I believe you testified regarding some of these matters yesterday in front of the United States Senate. In particular, I want to discuss the department's $220 million ad campaign. This is the ad campaign that featured you at Mount Rushmore. You're familiar with this ad campaign, correct?
I am familiar with it. It was an ad
So
campaign that was
I'm going to ask you some questions about it, Madam Secretary. So, as I understand it, this is a $220 million ad campaign. It's split between 2 contractors. One of those contractors got $143 million. That contractor is called Safe America Media, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That company is affiliated with a former political director of the National Republican Congressional Committee. Now, yesterday, you testified, I think I'm quoting you right, you said, quote, or in reference to this contract, that, quote, it went out to a competitive bid. Do you stand by that statement?
It was a no-bid contract where 2 vendors were
It was a no-bid
chosen.
contract.
If it would have been a no-bid contract, if I'm using that correctly, it goes out to 2 different vendors.
Correct. So it was not a
many
competitive. Let me try to explain what the discrepancy, because a competitive bid is very different than a no competitive bid, and I'll just explain why. We know that your testimony yesterday, when you said, again, I'll quote, it went out to a competitive bid, is untrue. The reason we know it's untrue is because under federal law, your agency is required, whenever the agency decides to skip competitive bidding, to file a notice with the public explaining why. And in this case, your agency filed a notice. You're aware of that, right? Justification and approval for other than full and open competition. Your agency made a decision not to proceed with competitive bidding, and one of the contractors that got the award was this Safe America Media company that received $143 million.
Many vendors got the chance to look at that contract and to participate in it.
So
that is why the 2 of them were chosen.
That's inaccurate, Madam Secretary. I'll read from the notice from your agency. Given the immediate action to significantly reduce illegal immigration and border crossings, DHS identified 4 companies. 4 of the hundreds of thousands of companies in the United States, you identified 4. One of those is this Safe America Media company. Where is Safe America Media headquartered?
I don't know.
I don't know either, Madam Secretary. We can't find it. We can't find a website. We did find an address that's registered for this company. Do you know where that address is?
Is there a problem with this contract?
I'll tell you about it.
According to
Madam
law,
Secretary, the
address
is registered to a political operative. Madam Secretary, the company, and then I'll give you an opportunity to respond. The company is registered to a political operative in Virginia. Do you know, just by way of example, whether this company that received $143 million in taxpayer dollars, has it ever done work for the government before?
I don't know. I can't.
The answer is it has not. And do you know why we know that? Because it was incorporated 8 days before this contract went out. You want the American people to believe that this is all above board?
Yes,
that $143 million of taxpayer money just happened to go to this one company that doesn't have a headquarters, doesn't have a website, has never done work for the federal government before, and is registered apparently or attached to a residence from a political operative. And of course, one of the subcontractors of that contract, as you know, is a political firm that's tied to you back when you were governor of South Dakota. The reason why I ask these questions is that this is taxpayer money. And I presume, I don't know this for a fact, but Senator Tillis noted yesterday the way in which your agency is blocking the Inspector General from 11 different investigations that it is trying to conduct. I don't know if this happens to be one of them. I certainly hope it is, because eventually the facts will become public in this regard. And there are serious laws implicated, conflict of interest laws, federal procurement laws, that I believe
all followed, all done correctly, all done legally.
All done correctly.
14 billion impressions from that marketing campaign.
Sure.
It was money spent in this country and in 8 different countries that illegal migration was coming from.
Madam Secretary,
overwhelmingly effective.
We all understand the argument that you've made. The argument that you've made that somehow this ad campaign on Fox News of you at Mount Rushmore has led to millions of people self-deporting. You're using millions of dollars of taxpayer money in this way. It is fraud. And ultimately, I think there's going to be accountability. And I yield back.
Can I speak to the IG?
Yes, you can.
The IG has been told repeatedly, in writing, verbally, on the phone, that he can have access to anything at the department of Homeland Security. He can. He doesn't need my permission to come and brief members of Congress on the Hill. He just needs to provide a scoping memo, which is what every single IG gets from every single department and agency. All intelligence agencies require a scoping memo. He just hasn't done that. He wants unfettered access to every single thing in the department, and that's not the process, and that's not any other IG has demanded that.
What this exchange really highlights is how government accountability is supposed to work in practice. When large sums of public money, like a $220 million federal contract, are involved, the expectation isn't just that results are delivered, but that the process behind those decisions is transparent, competitive, and clearly justified. That's because taxpayer dollars come with a responsibility to ensure fairness and avoid even the appearance of favoritism or political influence. When Joe Neguse raises questions about how a contract was awarded or whether proper procedures were followed, it reflects a broader role Congress plays in oversight, asking not just what was done, but how and why it was done. On the other side, when Kristi Noem defends the effectiveness of the program, it underscores how administrations often prioritize outcomes and urgency, especially on high-profile national issues. For viewers, the key takeaway is this: strong institutions rely on both execution and accountability working together. Transparency builds trust, and oversight helps ensure that public resources are used in ways that serve the broader public interest.